How in the world did everyday people's ability and right to watch television get tangled up in, this cosmic deficit thing?
Exactly. This is an opportunity, a great opportunity for the people who would like to have the space or spectrum that local television stations occupy for their own business purposes. And we're talking about basically broadband wireless industry. And they've clearly wanted this spectrum for a long time, and by throwing it into this debt ceiling issue and putting it on the table as a potential revenue source for the federal government, it could very easily get into a bill in the next 48 hours or so that passes by next Tuesday.
And if I'm sitting at home, whether it's Birmingham or Mobile or Huntsville, how does this affect me?
If the federal government gets what they want, which is 120 megahertz of spectrum, and that's very technical, but if they get what they want, Alabamians will lose television stations. Television stations will go away. It's like slicing up a pie. They're going to take a portion of the pie, and the television stations will have to share what's left. And studies have been conducted, that show that there will not be room for the existing television stations to fit on the amount of pie that's left. So we know that Alabamians will lose television stations in this.
How can they possibly justify that?
They're pushing people onto paid television sources, onto cable and satellite. So I guess in their minds they think that there is a place for viewers to go to, but as we know, over-the-air television is imperative to public safety. I don't think there is a justification for this, other than the falsehood that it will raise money to help the federal deficit.
Well, at the risk of being melodramatic, on April 27th, cable channels weren't saving lives, informing people about imminent danger. It was over-the-air broadcasters.
Exactly. That's something they can't do, aren't set up to do, and I don't think necessarily want to do. It's only over-the-air broadcasters that do so. It's your television station and all the others across the state that have meteorologists on the air days in advance of a storm and during and after a storm, warning people right down to street level and timing, 3 minutes on dogwood or whatever the street happens to be. No one else can do that. No one has the reach that you do, and no one has the ability that you do.
We got a fair amount of praise, the television stations in general. Also for, we helped heal. We helped bring together, we let people know well after the storm during the whole reconstruction process. Where would that information be available if this plan?
There's no one else to drive recovery efforts. There's no one else, even after the 27th or before the 27th, broadcasters, over-the-air broadcasters, drive community service. It's part of your everyday mission. I mean, it's part of your license and your responsibility to provide public service. And so not only have the television stations across the state been integral to the recovery in bringing awareness to which neighborhoods need help and in what way, in guiding people to donate financial resources, and there's no other entity that can do that the way you do, and you do it every day. You did it before, and you did it during, and you'll do it after. You'll be here for the next disaster if this doesn't happen, if this bill doesn't pass.
Now, I know here in Birmingham, many of the stations, not all of them unfortunately, have made massive investments in new technology, because we had to move to this new digital spectrum. And one of the side benefits of that is, for the first time in a long time, frankly, it's kind of practical to pull the plug on the cable.
Exactly.
In a lot of ways, you get better reception, a better picture. It's not scrunched. And people are increasingly, cutting that cord. And this makes that much less practical.
The digital transition happened a couple of summers ago. And since that time, quarter by quarter, cable operators have seen their customer levels drop significantly last third quarter. more people are turning to over-the-air television because there are simply more channels available. And in addition to the fact that now in Alabama there are anywhere from 8 to 12 stations, new stations available in any one of the television markets, the recession has caused people to make financial decisions about cutting the cord. And many homes now don't have cable just because they can't afford it. So two really viable reasons for bailing on the cord, as you said.
So, yeah, it's hard to feel sympathetic for a television station, I guess. We're not exactly the little guys. But real people, everyday people, are going to be very negatively impacted by this.
Oh, absolutely. Stations, there will be stations go away. What will happen is once they divide this pie up, they're going to, the federal government's calling it repacking. They're going to repack the signals in the space that's left. There won't be enough space for all the stations to fit on that piece of pie, as I said earlier. And the repacking will force changes. It's going to force stations to change channel numbers, which mean changing frequencies. And in the digital transition, that happened over a period of time, and you were able to move from your analog transmitter to your digital transmitter. And for the most part, viewers didn't see a difference. They, you know, obviously they see a difference in digital television, but what I mean is your station didn't go away. They didn't lose your station. It went from analog to digital. But in this case, it's very likely that stations could be off the air for weeks or months in this transition. It won't be a gradual effort. They'll take the signal away, and stations will be required to make whatever technical changes are required to get into their new space. The new space the federal government gives them.
It's going to cost people jobs.
Oh, it's going to cost jobs.
At the stations,
it's
at
going to cost millions
advertisers.
of dollars. And this is something that people should know as well. The federal government is talking about paying the stations at least a portion of what it will cost them to repack their signal. That's the federal government spending money. Their purpose, well, the purpose they say is to raise money, when they're actually talking about paying the broadcasters the money that it would take to make these moves. They have no idea. The studies that they've released and the prices that they've stated on doing this sort of thing to repair the industry to the degree that it can be are nowhere close to accurate.
Well, how much do they think they would save to put toward the deficit?
They think that the auction itself would raise $6.5 billion, which is a drop in the bucket when you look at the fact that we're at a $14 trillion and growing every day dollar amount.
Doesn't Congress spill that much at lunch?
Oh, yeah. You know, if you watch that clock with the deficit ticking, it's very scary. I want to talk about just really quickly the promises that were made to consumers with a digital conversion about mobile television and those things going on. As part of the digital transition, the federal government and television stations made some promises to viewers. First and foremost, a much improved broadcast signal, and everyone has delivered on that. But secondly, some great initiatives like mobile television. And, you know, we're a consumer base that is ravenous for new technology, apparently, considering that phones are out of date within 6 months or so. And so the television industry has an opportunity to deliver to people a new platform, television on mobile devices. Well, if this happens, that goes away completely. That promise to consumers goes away completely. You know, our government talks about wanting to be competitive in technology, and that's one of the reasons that they want to give up this space to broadband and wireless, but they're taking away one of the best opportunities that the population has, and that's mobile television. The ability to see your news on your device anywhere you are. After the earthquake and the tsunami in Japan, that's how people saw television. That's how they got their news. They couldn't see it from their homes. Their homes were gone, their TVs were gone. Wherever they'd fled to, they were still able to get news and vital information on their mobile devices. We saw that as a great promise for what it could mean here.
Well, again, in an April 27th situation, the ability to watch your local meteorologist on a handheld in your shelter.
Exactly.
and we'll forfeit that
Exactly.
if this goes through.
Exactly. And all the money that the federal government caused stations to spend, and I say that because they mandated this change to digital television. So they required this station and every other station across the country to invest millions of dollars in a transition to digital television. And now, 2 years later, they want to take it away. They're totally dismissing the fact that they caused you to spend all that money, potentially cost jobs because they extended the transition date, cost jobs, cost millions of dollars, and now that doesn't mean anything. It's a blank slate. Let's just take it back now.
I'm sitting at home watching this interview. What can I do about it? Or how can I help keep this from happening?
Well, there are 2 bills in consideration in Washington, and the most important thing you can do is pick up the telephone and call the 800 number and ask your senator. This week the 800 number will be calling directly to Senator Shelby's office and Senator Sessions' office. Ask them to support their local television stations. Make this personal. This has got to be a personal fight on Capitol Hill. Tell them what your local television station means to you. Tell them what it did for you on April 27th, or what it did for you after Katrina, or what it does for you on a daily basis. The fact that you get news and weather and traffic information every morning from your local television station. Make this a personal fight.
Because we all have something at stake.
Absolutely. You know, I work in this industry, but at the same time, I'm a consumer, and I love television, and I know what it means to me, and it scares me that somebody would take it away.